Alright, now that the headlight stanchions are on, I've opted to move on to the back. The spare tire is on, it's mounted, I've got everything in, I'm holding it. Holding the apron on the bottom with the chip clips. It's got through holes right here and right here, two pieces of holding it on. Of course, it's held down by the spare tire cover now too, but the bottom isn't retained completely. There's nothing at the bottom of the apron holding it on. And so I'm going to consider a couple of locations down at the bottom if I have vibration, or to prevent vibration, I mean, even though it's held, you know, by the lower wheel, spare tire mount. But I've opted to move on to the exhaust tailpipes. And so I got some really nice, I like them, really nice rolled chrome, I don't know, you know, tips. They weren't cheap, and they look very nice. And so I want to get them out the side, sticking out the side. So again, I'm back to mock-up, and I bent a piece of pipe, or I took a 90 and did a step over with some measurement. Whether or not I need to modify that or not, I don't know at this point, but I just took a 90 and drew up on CAD where to slice to achieve an 1 7/8" offset. And then I laid this over the top, did the same thing as I did on when I drew the cuts on those angles. Traced over the top, got my top and bottom piece, and voila. Okay, so then I measured the barrel, added a 1/2 inch to the radius, added a 1/2 inch to the diameter, a 1/4 inch to the radius, made some paper patterns, and cut out my 2 outlets. So now, one idea that I have, and I'm going to try, is to put a bead on it. So I got 2 pieces of 3/8 bar. I formed them around a 3-inch pipe in the vise. Okay, and what I'm thinking, 3/8, 1/2 3/8 is 3/16. If I mill this to a D, there we go, I can make a D. Or I can make a bead similar to that bead, but a bead that follows around here. And in addition, then I will weld 1/4 inch or number 12 or number 10 screws at 3 points, and it'll bolt through here and here and tie this together right there. So I'm playing with that concept right now. We'll see how it manifests. All right, I got it. A piece of 3/8 halved. Okay. Man, I'm pushing the limits of my, I don't know, if you want to call it my ability. Not to be arrogant, I mean, the point being is you're strapping a piece of 3/8 bar in here, you know, and I'm taking 180 thou off of it. You know, I'm not going to whatever 375 to about 185.25, and I'm trimming it. Now, there the other pieces. So I formed them. Oop. See that? I caught it. You can see there's a little grinding there. Get it in the light here. And a lot of smashing and hammering here. And the same was on this one in whatever location, because I needed it to sit perfectly flat. Well, I'm probably, once I clamp it in the vise, Yeah, my leg's up a little bit there. But what I learned in the mill, so I clamped it here, and here, and here, and took out these sections first. And then as I came and adjusted my clamps, then I went to I pulled this leg off, and I exposed this leg, so I clamped here and here. Okay, and of course that's another setup. And then I milled that off and that off slowly, and then I clamped here and here, and I milled that leg off. And what I learned is, as I'm taking material off, of course, and clamping it down, that mill is forcing, as I'm clamping, it's pushing it flat and flatter and flatter and flatter. So I'm taking some stress out of it. But these two pieces, then, I formed them. I wish I would always try to practice keeping the camera in the view. So those two pieces are the same. Okay, and now this one's a bead, and it fits the radius. These legs, there's extra there. Okay, and so at strategic locations, I'm going to drill holes through and through, weld studs, and this overlaps a flange. There's a flange behind here, it overlaps, and I'm going to grab that and then secure it on each side. So they're identical patterns. Well, they're identical mirror patterns, and this will go in just like that. Then, I'll get it adjusted, but I mean, this will go like that, and I'm even thinking I'm going to probably weld on a flange on the inside here. A flange on the inside, just a metal flange, just to tuck everything in and make it look pretty. But that'll work good. Then these will remove. Then you can remove that. Winds up being serviceable. You can pull the rear pan off. You can pull the fender off. Yada yada yada. I'm happy with it. Thing is, this was a serious, almost life-threatening. But in the sense that I was very nervous. You got a piece of 3/8 dowel or rod in there, and you're milling it. I'm using a 5/8 end mill. Whew. A lot of lubrication in a little bit of time. Those of you that run machines all the time, machining devices all the time, can appreciate the fact that you have to be careful on thinner material, but I don't run them all the time, so you probably, those of you that do this every day say, no, it's simple, it's simple. Chime in. If you got better ideas, I can take them, because I don't have a bunch of experience on a mill. I just use it to make shapes and get me critical dimensions. Anyway, number 2. Okay, now I got the two pieces off the mill, hit them with a 120 flapper disc. Hit the edges just barely. You can see a little bit right there, just to get any burrs off. So the plan is to stack them together, get them lined up, okay, get them lined up, stack them together. I marked where the drill holes go. In this case, this is the passenger side. This hole is offset of center because that grabs the flange that the rear apron bolts to the fender. So I introduced that up to there, made sure I closed all my gaps there, and then marked on here. So I'll and the driver's side's a mirror image of the passenger side. So I'll chuck this up in the drill press, go straight through, and I'm going to go with a 1024. I'm going to try to be offset of center just a little bit. Run these through, because I've only got 3/8 of an inch, so I don't have a lot of material, right? And I want to I want to put this, you know, flush with the inside. Whew. After I get it on, so that piece of trim will bolt through. Maybe I should go to a number 8. I don't know. This is a number 10. Number 10's about, what, half the diameter of 3/8. So if I just stay on the high side of center, right there, and then I'll just weld it. I'll drill through and through, weld it, and then flush it out on the bead afterwards. So, and then of course, I'll just chop off the excess and clean up the end. You know, I'll run them in this way, right? And then I'll just come back and chop off the heads and clean them up. And if I need to run a tap over them. And then I'll locate my mounting holes and go from there. I'll keep you in tune. Okay, I got to rethink this. Everything's always a trade-off, right? You know, so I want this flush. I want that flush with that surface. So that's 50 thou, right? Ish in. I want to be able to fasten it through. You should be able to get a washer and a nut on. However, this is going to be reaching in an inch. And the panel is going to be the sheet metal thickness on one side, the fiberglass and sheet metal up here, which needs to be retained, and the fiberglass on this side. So they're different thicknesses all the way around. No big deal. Meaning though that I'll need a stud that I need to fasten and screw on. So what I'm thinking, this isn't gonna work. I'm just gonna be way too close to the edge. There isn't going to be any material to grab there. So instead, I think what I'm going to do is put an ear on here, an ear on here, and an ear on here, be threaded, and then I'll run these screws in to set it. The only thing I don't like is that the screw then digs into the material, so I might need to do some sort of a backer, you know, so it's going against sheet metal onto the screw. I'm going to think that through, but I like this look, so I'm going to stay with this. I can always weld onto the flange once I get to that point, but I think I'm going to just weld these up right now. I'm not going to drill the holes in the trim piece at this juncture. Okay, each one of them in and tacked on. Way too much heat signature, but I got the ends fixed. Everything is flush to the edge. Everything is flush to the edge. This probably took me 45 minutes to get that set up. So now I grabbed 330 seconds rod off of the table, and shouldn't have, but I did, and went that route. It's just way too large. So I have 16th I'm going to grab and then run these out. So okay, one down, one to go. It went well. It went well. Except for when I started, I forgot to turn the gas on, and it purged the line and then stopped. And that really sucks when you do that. Okay, 2 down, none to go. No more towns, no more shows. No, okay, so now to clean them up. This is actually turning out to be quite fun. Okay, the exhaust cutouts then are complete. No, well, I mean, they're ready to fab the install. Backside. You can see a little bit of the TIG, but all that'll clear. Good penetration. Now I need to mark them to cut the ends off. And I never even did find out if, will they, are they, how much should they shrink up? Well, I'd say that's good enough for, government work. So, let's take them over and take a quick peek. How they're gonna fit on the, so we can see. I'm gonna have a reveal, you know, there's space on each side, obviously a reveal all the way around the tailpipe. And this is the transition between the apron and the fender. And then we'll go in just like that. So now I'm going to do my pinch on there, mark, probably weld that pinch on first, that piece that a tab that'll screw onto there to hold that on. And I'm still, the jury's out on how I'm going to do the sides, because I'm thinking I could almost just put a tab on each side, cover this in two-sided tape when I mount it, much like a current OEM situation. And then but for mock-up right now, of course I won't, but I'm thinking a thin two-sided tape might work really well. You stick it in, you clamp that thing down. I mean, that's going to hold just dandy. It's going to look just dandy. It matches the beading up there. That's 3/8 up there, 3/8 down here. I love it. I love it. I love just dreaming it up and then doing it. Piece of 3/8 rod. Hardest part of the whole project was you know, jigging it up on here, clamping it down, and running a mill over. It wasn't difficult, it's just that it's kind of scary milling a small piece of bar. But very happy with them. And we'll just keep on keeping on. All right, not a bunch special here, but you know, some 10 gauge welded on, TIG welded on both sides. Kind of hard to get into there with the TIG. I ran the tungsten way out, but was able to get it. And the screw is just right at the top center of the 3/8 bead, so it should just pull it in. Gonna have to try it now after they cool down a little bit. Well, so one of the great benefits of having a excess material is that you can always come up with a new plan, right? And originally I was thinking of putting 3 of those screws in and all that. But I do have the tab, and that does a good job of pushing it in. This is the fiberglass side. That's the sheet metal side. So on the rear pan, there's a brake. It's bent under, and this just slides in under that brake, under that bend, and wraps all the way around, and then this tucks in under the fiberglass. These are different widths because the fiberglass is different widths. And that's fiberglass, right? It just is what it is. I can still, and I probably will, when it comes to final assembly, I can still do a band of, you know, double-sided, you know, 3M tape or whatever brand of double-sided automotive grade trim tape. Just to keep them there and permanent. But this setup works really good. I had enough material that I could actually just, it looked kind of goofy, but they could just go in and go on. And then I you know, just put a nice ball surface on the ends, so there's a termination, you know, of the bead. So I'll get them on real quick and give you a look see at them. Okay, there we go. Getting down on the ground. I should have took some brake clean or something and cleaned all that off, but nice and tight. Got the little reveal. You can see the end of the brake on this pan that just goes in there and then locks this edge in. Same thing on this side on the glass. And then I just set that tip on the bucket there with a piece of wood on it. But I mean, that's basically the look. Stepping back. I think that should look pretty cool. Third brake light and camera and license plate and all that'll go in that tire cover. That's another project. It's sitting up there. And it's a rigid plastic cover. There's the back side of it that I'm going to cut a hubcap out of. And that hubcap it'll go over the top. The hubcap will center it up, but the hubcap will hold those items. Be tied in with that. You can unplug it and take it out. I'm still working on the plug in and unplug situation, but then that'll center on the cap, right? I'll have a big hole cut in that, the size of the cap, and then it'll center and close that out. So the back end of this thing's going to look kind of cute, I think. It'll come along. I'm proud of it. So now I just need to get that and that to come together. You know. Moving right along. Okay, just wrapping up the exhaust segment now. You can see it wraps around the tire. Then it kind of curves down and out. I wanted to stay in the frame. I didn't want to come out here because I don't want any tire rub. Everything is inside of, up to, if you look straight in, this bracket is behind the tire. So this sweeps around here and then S's down and out to line up with the exhaust. This is a 1 1/8. This surface to this surface is 1 1/8. 1 7/8 inches. This 2.5 inch exhaust. So I had to kind of come up with that. And then I built this bracket to hold the tailpipe steady because I'm about 3/16, clearance around the back side. And I finished both sides. So now we can see I got a little straightening to do and all that, but I mean, to get them parallel, but everything's kind of mocked in there. Getting down low. Looks good. Looks really good. The wings look good. It's got a good ortho or 45-degree view. Looks good. Probably maybe tuck them in a little bit farther, but so that portion of the project is done. I was going to show you real quick what I did for that 1 1/8 inch pipe. Let me turn the light on here. So I had a couple of 90s. It's all stainless exhaust. I drew them up on AutoCAD, and I tried to bisect on those 90s where I would get a 1 1/8 from the distance from this side to this side so I could get that move over. So I just did it on paper, laid it on, drew my line on, and got it. The first one was a mistake. That just offsets the pipe 2.5 inches exactly. And I actually cut the first piece there, but of course it was excess because I had to change my pitch. I realized that after making the first cut, believe it or not. Anyway, so that's how I did that. If you're looking at exhaust, you know, you don't need AutoCAD. You can draw the shape of the pipe on a piece of paper, cut it at a 45, the 290s, and then just adjust them together until you bisect them at that inch and 7/8 in my case, and you can get that dialed in, and then you just build your pipe over the top of the piece of paper, tack it up. So that piece is done. Exhaust is hung all the way back. I just stuck the muffler, the cutouts on the back. So I'm gonna start thinking about how I want to get my wheel spacing and get these get 245s to fit under the rear, and probably 215s, 225, something like that under the front. And I'm also going to work on the third brake light and the rear camera. That's going to integrate into the spare tire cover. So I got a rigid spare tire cover, and I'm going to do some sort of a hubcap with the third brake light and the camera. The license plate will be on there. The third brake light will be cargo light for a pickup, so it'll have the reverse lights in it as well. I'll use the cargo lights for my reverse lights. So LED, of course, to keep everything nice and bright. More later.